Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And 13, I was thugging hard by 14 off the post. 15, I was toting pistols by 16 on the road. 17, I was writing raps going hard on every hook. By 18, I was in the county, no money on my books. Had a red light, nigga said it wide, but not to the very end. Just to get my circle tight, I had to cut up all my friends. I told Shaw, fuck a bank account, cause my shoe box. I got a few knots, I let a thug life, no Tupac. Nigga tried me, he get 2 shots. If he a fuck nigga, I swear he get a few shots. My neck and wrist so cold, I swear I need a flu shot. Falling water, they like Colorado too hot. Why you tryna be something you know you not? I counted up 10 racks just this morning. Right around in the Maybach in a foreign. I remember way back, you was ignoring. I'm preaching like a pastor and y'all actors. I get so high, I pass the law. And my team fly, no passport. Anything that shawty want, all she gotta do is ask for. And that pistol on me, I ain't never lag. Nigga run up on me, swear to God I'm blessed. Like the killer gang, miss closed casket.
Yeah. 50,000 ain't enough to me, cause I can do that shit in my sleep. Yeah. 13, I was playing ball, I was running hard in my cleats. Yeah. 14, couldn't tell me nothing, cause I got me for a piece of meat. Yeah. Push this until me ever since then, I've been a little free. Yeah. We made the rounds at 15, I was hanging with ABG. I was young and hell, ain't on no better, so I started smoking that weed. I was cheap by 16, I was skipping class, I was being bad just because I got a girlfriend and she broke my heart, but you a puppy love. By 17, I started getting it there. Start moving a little different, but I did not know one day that I was gonna get some millions. By 18, I got a little patient, I barely had graduated. 19, I had caught my first charge and I was facing so much time. By 20, I started reading books to expand my mind. At 21, I started praying, cause God don't answer cries. By 24, I had saved enough for a condo. At 25, I was in LA like I'm Lonzo, Quando Rondo.
Hey, you guys, good evening. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it, you guys, and talk to y'all this evening, but I wanted to get this in because some things did happen over at the Little Durk trial today. So, what I think might work best with all the things that are going on, because I didn't even get to check into Lil Yellow Beezy to see how jury selection is going on with that. But I think what might be best is for me to maybe do like a 3-day rotation. That means that the circus might have to get put on hold. The circus wilding out, okay? They wilding out. They always wilding out. It's going to always be content with that. Unless something extreme happens and the circus has hit peaks of extreme that heights already that I don't even know can be matched at this point, right? So unless something extreme happens, I'm going to try to not do as much circus coverage right now until we get a good handle on what's going on in court, because there's a lot of moving components. There are a lot of people involved in all of these stories, right? And so I can only imagine how overwhelmed the jurors are listening to this, trying to keep all of these people, all of these events, learning a new language. I posted earlier today, Armand said the same thing that I said when in speaking about the juror that had like this language barrier. And I didn't watch Armand do day 2 wrap up. So I just saw it today. And you guys know I said it last night. Like, if you already have a language barrier when it comes to English, if you have a language barrier when it comes to the basic mechanics of law, then you're definitely going to have a language barrier when it comes to hood language. And so it was funny because Armand said that the judge said to the juror, listen, I don't even understand half
of what is being discussed here, right? And that is the problem. And it made me make the joke about Keefe D saying this is Jim Crow. The reason why I think people of color, we understand the idea of what it really means to say a jury of your peers. It doesn't mean necessarily um that is not what people have twisted it into, is not necessarily what the law means. And it would be well and fine if the meaning that the law gives to it would be okay if these other people were more multicultural. But because a lot of the times the people sitting on this jury don't understand urban language, that creates a language barrier because they may be taking some things literal when they should be taken metaphorically. And this is the upper hand that defense attorneys have when dealing with these kinds of cases, especially these kind of cases that talk about free speech, artistic expression. When it takes too much for the jury to try to figure out what is just rap lyrics and what may be key elements to a crime, that creates some level of difficulty for jurors, especially of other cultures, right? And however, for those of us in the culture, we can undermine that language, right? We undermine it and we don't take the seriousness of what's being said in these lyrics sometimes. And some of us know exactly what is being said in these lyrics are linked to a crime. But, and I like that Armand said this in his video, as people of color, we have a difficult time struggling in between, do we send people who look like us to prison? And I think for most people of color it's difficult because we have a difficult relationship with law enforcement. We don't have that great of a relationship with law enforcement. We don't necessarily trust the justice system. But there are times when people of color had to go to jail for crimes that they commit. When I am listening to how they open fire in Beverly Hills. Now, this is the thing, you guys, because I have something to say even about that, right? This crime and the way that it is being discussed in the court is such a big deal because they did open fire with machine guns in the middle of Beverly Hills, right? That makes it a huge deal. That makes it an act of terror to them, right? Because this is Beverly Hills that you're opening fire in. Now, when machine guns and open fire is happening in Compton, they might not care too much, right? But in the middle of Beverly Hills, the way that they open fire on these targets, this is Savaya, this is Quando Rondo on my screen, right? The way they open fire on them. And then not only that, the detective testified that there were bullets found in the gas pumps. Hey, Jojo, hey. There were bullets found in the gas pump, which means that they could have caused a whole explosion in the middle of Beverly Hills. Okay? Like, that is like, that's major. That is a major thing to have occur. And so, listen, we know that there's a language barrier that some of the jurors have. We know that the judge is expressing, he even is struggling with the language that our culture uses in order to describe certain things. But the defense uses this to their advantage. And they use it to their advantage because they say that this is protected speech under artistic expression. However, people in our community know. We might want to turn a blind eye to it. We might not want to admit it because we don't want to turn our own into law enforcement. We don't want our own to be another victim of the justice system. But we know the truth when we see the truth, okay? Some people might want to pretend that they don't see the truth, but we know the truth when we see the truth. And so I wanted to share with you there are two individuals inside of the courtroom that are tweeting. Now, the they cannot take devices into the courtroom. So I'm not sure if some individuals are authorized to be able to take devices in the courtroom. I know this is an issue with the David trial as well, that they are keeping a tight grip on how communications are leaving out. And especially in this trial, because you have a situation where you have gangs involved. And some of the people outside of the trial have expressed what that looks like, right? Some of the content creators out there are saying, like, they don't I mean, they feel weird and don't even know how to go about like reporting, because the presence of that type of thing is really, really, really strong around the courthouse. And so I know Armand joked about, like, I don't know whether or not, if I cozy up to one side or the other side, and then it turns out that the evidence leans more to one side or the other, if that means that then I'm then in danger. Like, this is dangerous. Like, this is why I think some of those jurors may have put some of the things on their questionnaire in order to automatically be eliminated, especially once the judge let them know that, listen, I might not even take any hardship exceptions because we have to seat this jury. And so that means that even if you think what you have going on is a hardship, I might not think it's a hardship, and you might still be sitting here in the end, right? And so I think that the jurors resulted to putting certain things on their questionnaires to see if it would help to get them eliminated. And so, because in the end of the day, they are doing everything they can to protect the identity of the jurors. They are doing everything that they can to keep them safe, but you never know. I mean, you're dealing with individuals in the courtroom sitting in there who open fire in the middle of Beverly Hills near gas pumps, right? They are, I mean, like I said, they don't care. They don't care, okay? It's obvious that they do not care. And so I am going to tonight share with you the tweets that were coming from two individuals, content creators that are inside of, I guess they're non-traditional media, and they are inside of the courtroom. We are going to look at their tweets. One of them appears that they are doing live tweeting, and that's why I said that I am somewhat confused as to, are certain people allowed to have devices and others not? Was there some type of pre-approval process for some? And then was there for those coming in that didn't have media pass, that are coming in to observe because they are considered the general public, if they aren't allowed to bring devices in, but maybe those individuals who were already pre-approved are allowed to do it? I'm not sure of all of the details of that, because there is one content creator, he's on X, his name is Michael Blackshire, and he seems to have been consistently tweeting throughout the day. I don't know if that meant that he was leaving out during breaks or what was going on, but he has way more. His tweet pattern is a little bit more consistent than the other content creator I'm going to share with you. Her name is Taylor Paris. So I'm not sure like what all of layout is, and hopefully after today we'll get some more updates to how things are laid out. But for right now, that's what we're going to do. And then after we go through some of those tweets in order for us to get some idea of what happened during opening statements, and with the witnesses that they did call to the stand today, we're going to go over to Trap Lord clips. Okay. Now, I know some people don't like Trap Lord because Trap Lord, they say he is biased. That's what a lot of people say. But we are going to watch Trap Lord clips. He's going to talk about the idea of, is Lil Durk snitching on Vonnie? Okay. And that question gets posed because something gets revealed in the defense's opening statements today about what the defense is for Little Durk. Okay. and it involves Vonnie, and I posted that on my wall today. Okay, so we're gonna start off with reading Taylor Parise's tweets because, like I said, she seemed to uh not have as many tweets. And then, okay, so this is the other thing, because I'm pulling my Twitter account up onto my computer. I do not know how to set this to be in chronological order. I'm hoping so we might be somewhat like out of order as we're reading these tweets. I'm gonna try to figure out how do I fix that. But for tonight, it's gonna have to do, okay? Because I couldn't figure it out in enough time for me to go live, try to talk to you guys, and then get myself in the bed at a decent time. So tonight, I'm gonna have to deal with the way that the tweets are set up, and then what we will do. I'll try to figure out how do I get that set right so that we can make sure that we're viewing the tweets in chronological order. Even if I don't care if I have to go from bottom to top, but as long as I can view it in order, so that we can make sure that we are keeping up with the flow of things, right? So we're gonna start off, like I said, with Taylor Parise. Give me 1 second. Let me get that in on the screen. Let's share the screen. Yeah, don't tell me this again. Okay. Okay, let me see if she's on here. Let me. Sure. Okay, we're gonna add it to the stage. Okay, I'm gonna be. Oh shoot. Okay. I'm gonna be on the other side, so I might not be able to see if people come in, but the I'm gonna go on the other side so I could read the tweet. So this is Taylor Parise on X. Go like, share, subscribe to her. She is tweeting. She is inside of the courtroom. I believe she's more so tweeting in between breaks, in the morning, in between breaks, and then at the end of the day, because from what the overall rule is that devices are not allowed into the courtroom. So Taylor starts off with observing some of what's going on outside of the courtroom. And so she tweets, new observers at the courthouse. Machine Gun Kelly is currently at the DTLA courthouse to observe the trial for Little Durk. So this is, I know this is out of order because we're going to have to read it like this, you guys, because I don't want to forget to come back to it. But I know this is out of order because she doesn't even go into opening statements, right? But she does have some remarks about opening statements. So, wait a minute, let me see, because I really don't want to take that out of order. Okay, so let's go. I'll just have to go back down, you guys. So let's reposted opening statements from the prosecution for day 3 in Little Durk trial. Prosecutors' opening statements. During opening statements, the prosecution laid out its case against Durk Banks and his alleged orchestration of the killing of Quando Rondo. Kayvon Grant, who pleaded guilty and is testifying for the prosecution, was described as Banks' personal assistant, arranging guns and cars on Banks' behalf. The prosecution said Banks was consumed with getting revenge against Quando Rondo for the murder of King Von. Those involved, including Keith Jones, who was testifying for the defense, and David Lindsay, were flown into San Diego on August 18, 2022, allegedly on the promise they would be paid for killing Rondo. The prosecution called it a case of both revenge and reward, describing the morning of August 18th as frantic in nature. The group traveled with only the shirts on their backs. On August 18th and 19th, 2 white sedans with tinted windows, one rented and one stolen, allegedly stalked Rondo before he was targeted at a gas station August 19th. 18 bullets were fired. Their 3 shooters were dressed in black and wearing ski masks. The prosecution alleges Banks was at a rental home waiting for updates by phone. GPS data from the rental car allegedly showed it traveling to Banks' rental home multiple times over the 2 days. The prosecution also alleged Banks later tried to flee the country and ran from the FBI. Defense contradicts this. Okay. So let's go up because I think that and I'll remember what I didn't read so that we can come back down. We're gonna listen to what she had to say too as well, you guys. So this is defense opening statements. Okay, so now we're gonna read what she says, her brief synopsis of the defense's opening statements. The defense argued Banks was not the leader and said the evidence will show he wanted to uplift others and provide opportunities. They told the jury that the history leading up to the murder goes long before the prosecution wants the jury to know, highlighting that Kayvon Grant and Davon Bennett, nicknamed King Von, were cousins and extremely close. They detailed that Grant managed King Von's finances, lived with him, and the two even shared a bank account. Defense reiterated multiple times the two were close as could be and said Grant was there when his cousin was shot in 2020. The defense said one of King Von's final words to Grant was, "Why did you let me get shot?" They agreed with the prosecution that this murder was driven by a need for revenge, but says Grant enacted that revenge, not Banks. They stated the text and messages the prosecution would show as evidence was taken out of context. They highlighted that Banks was not a leader. They further said people did not even listen to him. The defense stated that Banks was a successful, well-known face, which is why the prosecution was looking to blame him. When Grant was approached as a search warrant was being executed at his home, the defense stated a light bulb came on. They said Grant told officials whose credit card was used, alleging Grant knowingly used the company card and turned it on Banks when he was pressed. The defense said it is confident it will prove to the jury that Grant was the mind behind the operation. Okay? So let me go ahead and see. I'm trying to see if I can make sense of trying to put this in order for now. Give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah, so now we can go back down and read some of this. So let's take a look at her video.
Where opening statements are about to begin. Hi, I'm Taylor Priest with Los Angeles Magazine, and I'm outside a federal courthouse in downtown Los Angeles, where opening statements are about to begin for the murder for hire trial of rapper Lil Durk. The jury was seated on Friday, and today prosecutors and defense attorneys will finally get to tell the jurors how they say this case unfolded. Prosecutors allege that Durk helped finance and orchestrate a 2022 hit targeting rapper Quando Rondo, but instead his cousin was hit. Durk has pleaded not guilty, and for the first time, jurors will hear the competing theories for this case before prosecutors begin presenting their evidence and calling witnesses. We will be reporting live from this courthouse throughout the entirety of this trial, and we will report back to you on lamag.com. Hi, I'm Taylor Priest with Los Angeles Magazine, and I'm outside.
So that was her prior to going into court today, and we already talked about what the opening statements said. So then she tweets again afterwards. She says 4 witnesses testified for the prosecution before lunch in day 3 of Lil Durk's murder for hire trial. The first to testify was a woman. Archive records of 911 calls. The 911 call was placed when a frantic woman could be heard reporting the shooting of Savia Lil Pop Robinson. The woman is heard saying, "Oh my God," multiple times. She reported the shooting saying semi-automatic weapons were used. She noted a group of people were the shooters. She stated she did not want to be a part of this when asked for her information, saying she just wanted to let someone know. The defense did not cross-examine this witness, okay? The next witness was Louis Calvillo. He is the former Los Angeles sheriff, former sheriff of the Los Angeles Police Department. And he responded to the scene when flagged down by pedestrians. He approached the Escalade and discovered the victim in the back seat bleeding. He pulled the victim from the SUV and attempted CPR on the ground next to the Escalade. A body cam video from Calvillo's POV was shown to the jury. Robinson is seen in the Escalade moaning before being pulled from the car and placed on the ground, passenger side from the vehicle. Rondo is heard, as confirmed by Calvillo, screaming, "No!" Calvillo said he was unable to resuscitate Robinson. There was no cross-examination. Give me 1 second. And then we have, I think she had one more thing up here somewhere. Okay, so then she just shows Lil Durk's dad leaving the courthouse. So that was all that Taylor had really for today. Okay, like I said, Michael has a whole lot more. So we're about to go over to his tweets. Let me check in with you guys really quick. Okay, we're about to go over to his tweets now. But that was what Taylor had to share with us today. So let me get over here really quick. And I think I'm already down here so that we can see Michael. So give me 1 second. Let me get him shared. And then we can read and go through his tweets for today. Okay, so there you see Brian Steele going into the courtroom. Brian Steele, of course, we know most of us first encountered him in representing Young Thug in the YSL trial. And much of some of the things and the strategy and the things that we're hearing that he's using from the Thug trial, we are seeing employed here in the Durk trial, right? That the reason why this big mega rap figure is being used as a target in this crime is because of his career, his success, his notoriety. And so he was targeted because the government wanted a bigger fish to attach to this crime. That is part of the defense of Little Durk, right? And we know that was part of the defense for Young Thug. And so we see that same similarity across these two trials that we are observing. But this is Brian Steele. He's going into the courtroom, right? So opening statements, Michael says opening statements have begun. There is one black juror on the jury, a black woman. Michael Blackshire says he has a successful label. That is what he is the leader of. He wasn't a leader of a criminal group, Marissa Goldberg said during opening statements. This is all out of order too. So, but let's just read through it. The prosecution mentioned during their opening statements that Casey Jam is a killer. He's also desperate, Goldberg said under opening statements. OTF Jam, was interviewed by law enforcement 30 times, Goldberg said during the defense's opening statements. This is a story of revenge, the prosecution said during their opening statements. They discussed this was revenge on the death of King Von. The prosecution said today that Casey Hester, OTF Jam, Kayvon London Grant, OTF Vonnie, and Keith Jones Flocka will testify for the prosecution. We agree that it was a tragedy that Mr. Robinson, Lil Pab, was killed that day. Mr. Banks was not there. He was not connected to it, Goldberg said during the defense's opening statements. Sabaya Robinson's Little Pab's family is here today, as well in court, including his mother. It's absolutely clear he was not there. He was living in Encino with his wife. He was living in LA because he's a performer, Goldberg said during the defense's opening statements. You will hear from Kayvon Grant, OTF Vonnie. He will testify. He was Banks's personal assistant. He was the guy who did everything. He booked the rental car. He put the fake license plate. He bought ski masks, Goldberg said during the opening statements. There are allegations of murder for hire. There is no money to follow, no payment, no bounty. There is not a murder for hire when nobody got paid. Give me a second. Goldberg said during her opening statements. Mr. Hester is eager to kill Rondo. Mr. Hester is angry that Mr. Wilson, OTFDD, is not participating. Mr. Wilson did not admit to a crime, Craig Harbaugh said during his opening statement. He's the lawyer for DeAndre Wilson, OTFDD. Machine Gun Kelly has arrived at court in the overflow room listening to the Little Durk trial. Officer Louis Calvillo spoke on performing CPR on Savia Robinson Lil Pab. His body cam footage was shown of him removing Robinson's body from the vehicle. He's breathing, Calvillo is heard saying, as he carries Robinson out of the vehicle. An autopsy photo was shown in court today of Savia Robinson showing 3 of his 4 gunshot wounds. Entry 4 was the back of the left forearm. The deputy medical examiner was Dr. Richard Richard Ou said. Okay. This is the family. This is a video of the family of Lil Pab, Savia Robinson's family leaving the court today during a lunch break. Okay. The prosecutors alleged that Little Durk was attempting to flee the country in Miami when they arrested him. The defense said he was in Miami working on a song with DJ Khaled. Racial makeup of the jury in the Little Durk trial. There are 5 whites, 5 Latinos, 1 Asian, and 1 black. Savia Robinson's family cried when the gas station surveillance footage was shown of the drive-by shooting on Quando Rondo and Little Pab's vehicle. United Airlines. I'm gonna skip that one because I remember reading that one. I don't know. Okay, so let's look at this video. This is Michael, a little brief video that Michael had. Let's
prosecute.
Okay.
So the prosecution has just confirmed that OTF Jam, OTF Bonnie, and Flocka will all be testifying for the prosecution. So that's been confirmed right now. Right now, Machine Gun Kelly walked into court, and also family members of Little Pab are also there in court as well. So the prosecution.
Okay. So that was just a brief video of him while coming out of court. And it says it has been confirmed that OTF Jam, OTF Bonnie, and Flocka will be testifying for the prosecution. Okay. Little Durk, this is what he's wearing, you guys. Little Durk is wearing a silver suit with the side of his hair faded with a black tie. David Brian Lindsay is wearing, that's Brown Eyes, is wearing a black suit with glasses. OTF DD is wearing a blue tie and white dress shirt. So this is a statement that they said the Little Pab's mother made, I guess today in court. She said, I don't go back and forth. If I could walk and give his mom, Little Durk's mom, talking about Little Durk's mom, a hug, I would. Little Pab's mom said while in court today. A detective on the stand today said he believes that Asa Houston, OTF Boogie, is the driver, and that Casey Hester, OTF Jam, Keith Jones, Flocka, and David Lindsay, Brown Eyes, are the shooters. There was a GPS on the white BMW that surveillance shows OTF Vonnie was using that was the exact time the car was in use. Okay. This is them showing. So remember I told you guys, they said that the people, they were outside, they out there with T-shirts. We saw the same thing with the Diddy trial. They out there with T-shirts. They out there with pamphlets. The judge had to recommend and say you can't hand them flyers out to court. So this is just showing you the same type of effect. They were out there with Diddy. They out there with the street dirt. And the judge had to reprimand them in court though and said, y'all cannot bring any of this propaganda into court. If you bring this into court, you will be held in contempt. You'll be thrown out of court. And he actually said that they could be brought up on charges. Now, here we see G Herbo, okay? So G Herbo was at court today.
I'm a partner of Yuri. You know Yuri over there in Miami? The Jew, the old Jew from the States. Yuri Sion, that's my man. In Miami. But look, this is 2 hours to do it. Dirk shirt, you should have camera. He and his pops did things now that must have been. Yeah, anything you want to say? Sure. Anything you want to say positive to the people about
man.
how you feel about this?
Man, we just here to support Smirk, man. You feel me? And just all show a unit. Show free the voice. Free the voice till he free.
God bless.
Appreciate it.
I'm a partner of Yuri.
All right, so that's G Herbo. He was there. Machine Gun Kelly was there. They said G Herbo was there. Drew Finland walks out of court. This is Little Durk's lead attorney. I don't think he said anything. This is just showing him walking out and getting into the vehicle. This is showing more supporters outside of the courthouse. Let's see what they saying.
Anything you want to say? Anything you want to say about everything?
Free Smirk. Y'all know how we coming. Shit. Innocent, you know how this shit go. Yeah. Freedom innocent. Oh shit. Yeah. Yo. Hey, you with the free Durk movement? Come on. Hey, get him a shirt, Reese.
Ooh, I only got one.
Just get on one.
Thank you.
I think they're coming out right now.
All right. So those are some supporters. This is a conversation that they had with DJ Act talking with Trap Lord Ross and Sadie Nash, because Sadie Nash is at the courthouse as well.
It was knowledgeable that it would be caught, and they did things purposely to make sure it looked this way.
100%.
Really?
Close all that shit. Cats is dumb. And they just did some shit at the end of this shit too, where they like, oh, these text messages mean that Cats was on as far as Jam's ass, but that ain't what it was. But it's gonna be crazy. Tomorrow gonna be the most craziest day besides the verdict, for sure.
Hey, Jack, I'll give y'all this one thing. You see, Sadie Nash is like, he's almost like a secret weapon of sorts. There's certain times I've heard him say some stuff, and I'm like, where is this nigga getting this from? And I'm not gonna lie. More than likely, I'll see him pop up with some proof later. I thought he was cat by the whole Young Thug shit. He was really the plug. So it looked like you a little sticky motherfucker. You be having somebody who was knowledgeable that it.
All right. So that was Michael was showing that this is more fans of Durk outside. So now getting back to some more of the tweets. Oh, excuse me. Hold on one second. So Michael says that surveillance footage the night before the drive-by shooting showed the white Infiniti, the white BMW taking turns staking out Rondo and Little Pab at the Level Hotel in downtown LA. So that's important because the stalking did not just happen the day of, but they are saying the surveillance footage shows that they started stalking them as soon as they got in town. That the night before they started to stalk them. And so those are all of the tweets from yesterday. Hey, Purple Boo. Those are all of the tweets from today. These are the two main ones tweeting right now that I found. If I find more pages, of course, we will go through those. I'm going to find out what I need to do in order to get these in chronological order for now. But we are going to watch the video from Trap Lord Clips that's going to talk about is Little Durk snitching on Vonnie, okay? And I think I am at a crossroads when it comes. Number one, I don't care nothing about no snitching culture no more. I just don't. You know, at some point, I think I got old enough, and I understand why a lot of young people still deal with this. I think as you get older, you mature, you realize that at some point you're going to need law enforcement, and at some point you realize that the things that you think is okay for you to do to others, you don't want that done to you. And so you kind of like stray away from that kind of doctrine because it just doesn't make sense. It does not make sense for the good of community, for the good of society in anywhere, right? It just doesn't. And so I really don't care about the whole snitching thing, but the snitching culture is still a very big thing, right? It's a very big thing. And so the question is, because Little Durk's defense is that Vonnie set this whole thing up. And like I told you before, Vonnie is King Von's cousin. He is the last to be with King Von before King Von passed away. And they said that King Von's last words to Vonnie is, "Why did you let me get shot?" Right? And so the defense is painting a picture. Little Durk's attorneys are painting a picture that Vonnie was the one who was at the head of this, that he orchestrated all of this, that he, without proper permission, did not get the right authorization to use OTF credit cards in order to pay and arrange for these things to occur, right? And so they are saying he was the one with the motive. And in addition to another little piece of information that I got from another content creator I was listening to earlier today, I can't remember which one it was, but they came out of the courtroom and they were saying that there was another element to this. They said that King Vonnie was upset at how Lil Durk was capitalizing off of King Von's death. Okay, so they said that Vonnie was upset at how Lil Durk was capitalizing off of King Von's death. He didn't like it. And so that, I think they are using this to motive into why he set it up to where Durk would be the head of this slide for Von situation. And this is what the defense is trying to put up as a defense, right? So was this jealousy factor, this animosity that he had, that he was using King Von in order to make money through his rap music. And then you had the fact that Durk did not authorize this, or it's being said that Durk did not authorize any of this to take place, but that Vonnie went ahead with it anyway, right? He went ahead and went along with it anyway. So the question that so many people has is, based on this defense, is Durk snitching on Vonnie? I think the problem we have is that Vonnie is snitching on Durk. So how do we reconcile those things? And most people reconcile it by looking at the one that they like the most, and then that one's going to be the rat, and then they're going to have some excuse and justification why the other one isn't a rat. And that's why I just don't even believe, when you got all this, it's this no snitching thing. It's no code anymore. Like it's nonsensical to begin with, but it's no code to this snitching thing anymore. It's not. And you look at similar occurrences when you look at the dynamics between the case when Diddy was involved in that shooting case with Jennifer Lopez, and then Shine took the hit for it, and then you got Keith PD over this, and Mob James explaining to you how it goes. Well, we know, as gangsters, in this gang culture, that those of us who are there to protect those at the top, that if a crime goes down and somebody got to take the rap for it, guess what? It's going to be one of us. That's what Mob James and Keefe D even said, that was the old way. But we are starting to see that even the old OGs ain't upholding to that. And so how do you expect the young ones? How do you expect these young gunners to uphold that, right? They not living by that no more. And so the ideal, I guess, or maybe what, if allegedly Durk did help to arrange this to happen, his overall idea, I guess, is that, well, they know it paid to be the boss. I'm the boss. They know they supposed to cover me. They just supposed to take the hit for it. And I got to, because I'm going to still be out here making money. I'm going to still make sure that they good where they at. As good as they can be. I don't know. I don't know how good that is. I wouldn't want that kind of arrangement. But, this is the kind of arrangement that they agree to. And so I guess the question becomes, who is really the snitch? Who is really the snitch? Is it Durk? Is it Vaughn? Is it both of them? Is it an expectation that Durk needed to find some other kind of defense to avoid snitching on Vonnie while Vonnie was snitching on him? Is there some ambiguity about who started cooperating and snitching first? Who knows? I don't know. But let's listen to Trap Lore clips and see what their idea is about, what idea they have about what's going on with this situation.
To commit murder for hire, committing murder for hire involving a death, and the use of a machine gun. On October the 23rd, 2024, things would come crashing down when 5 affiliates of Lil Durk's Only the Family record label were arrested and indicted on serious charges, including conspiracy to commit murder for hire, committing murder for hire involving a death, and the use of a machine gun in a violent crime resulting in death. After the 5 members of his Only the Family crew were arrested in Chicago, it was only a matter of time before the feds would grab Durk himself. He likely knew the clock was ticking after news broke of his close OTF associates being taken off the streets. Durk would reportedly book multiple international flights in an attempt to not only get away, but also confuse the authorities and keep them guessing what his next move might be, with 3 flights all being booked to Switzerland, Dubai, and 1 private jet that was headed to Italy. Durk was in Miami and South Florida at the time, and according to an affidavit by FBI agent Sarah Corcoran, the Chicago rapper was attempting to flee to Italy before his arrest. All international flight bookings made on Durk's behalf would raise suspicions that Durk was planning to evade capture, and the feds would immediately swoop in, and then the music would finally stop. As 2 days after his 5 friends were arrested, before Durk could board that private flight to Italy, federal agents would intercept him in Broward County, Florida on October the 25th. U.S. Marshals would apprehend him, charging him with conspiracy for allegedly arranging that hit on fellow rapper Quando Rondo. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California would announce the arrest of Lil Durk on charges of conspiracy to use interstate facilities in a murder-for-hire plot that resulted in a fatality.
I want to begin now with some breaking news. Rapper Lil Durk is charged in a murder-for-hire plot.
Lil Durk's real name is Durk Bank, and he is from Chicago. This is his mugshot from Florida, where he was arrested last night and is being held without bond. This comes only hours after 5 people associated with his music business were also accused in taking part in that murder-for-hire plot. Now, the plot targeted rapper Quando Rondo's cousin, who was killed in 2022. Investigators believe it was retaliation for the earlier murder of Chicago rapper King Von.
Local rapper and Grammy winner Lil Durk is being held behind bars in South Florida, charged in a murder-for-hire plot back in 2022.
The FBI says he was arrested while trying to flee the country. Investigators believe Lil Durk put out a hit on another rapper, Quando Rondo, in retaliation for the earlier murder of Chicago rapper King Von. Rondo's cousin also died in a shooting at a Los Angeles gas station caught on camera. Several of Lil Durk's associates have also been arrested in connection with this same plot.
The superseding indictment filed against Lil Durk himself would paint a detailed and damning picture of OTF as a criminal enterprise that was allegedly led and directed by Lil Durk himself. According to prosecutors, OTF operated not just as a music collective, but also as a violent organization that was engaged in murder, assault, and intimidation.
Okay, now I want to stop it right there because there was some argument and understanding that there not be too much emphasis on the gang affiliation thing. The judge is allowing enough information to come into evidence to where they can understand that, yes, this was done and their affiliation with one another was based on them being affiliated with OTF. But the judge is not going to allow the prosecution to oversaturate this case with gang activity. I think that there is another portion of this indictment that another portion of this case, or Durk is charged in another. Somehow they severed some of these charges, and so there's another set of charges that I believe that Durk is going to be going to court to trial for, in relation to what I think is a RICO. And then in that case, then what the gang affiliation may be more prominent. But in this isolated shooting situation, the judge limited how the prosecution can discuss their gang activity, because they don't want it to be overly saturated with that. So they are allowed to use the gang affiliation to discuss how these individuals are connected, how they know each other, how they came to be and affiliated with one another, but not to talk about too much other, like organized crime or anything like that. So the judge was very stern with the prosecution that you cannot cross that line. That we are looking at this murder alone. You can discuss the gang affiliation to discuss how these people came into relationship with one another, but don't overstep. Don't go outside of that boundary. Okay. Give me 1 second.
To maintain its dominance in the Chicago and broader music scene. The indictment alleges in black and white that Durk placed a bounty on Quando Rondo, promising financial rewards and lucrative opportunities within OTF to anyone who carried out the killing, and
okay, so that's another thing. According to what's being reported out of the courtroom by several content creators, media, I guess traditional media and non-traditional media, because it's a combination. So what's being reported is that there were several attempts made on Quando Rondo's life, and that the prosecution has evidence of those several attempts. So where I believe that Durk could kind of maybe run into some difficulty is if those other several attempts include some interaction with him being involved in the coordination, that also doesn't look that great for him either, right? But according to the government, they are saying that they have evidence that several attempts on Quando Rondo's life were made. The one that killed his cousin the day of this event that we're discussing is just, that was the last attempt. And then they aren't even sure if that was the final attempt, because remember we discussed that text message that Quando Rondo tried to send to an affiliate in order to squash the beef after the killing of Lil Pab. But Durk told him, you want some peace, you gonna get a piece of this, steal. That's what you're gonna get, So this is the thing. If they can try to get Durk out of the actual day of this arranged attempt, that's one thing. But if there is anything pointing towards that he was part of coordinating some other attempts that the government is saying that they have that were made against Quando Rondo, even if they could kind of maybe get the jury to lean towards, well, did Durk have something to do with this last attempt? I don't know. Those other attempts, if they can confirm and provide evidence to confirm that he was part of those attempts, that's going to look bad on this last attempt. I'm just saying. And then when we finish off this for tonight, I'm going to read an article from mensjournal.com that is going to talk about how Durk's lyrics are going to be used in this trial. And they started in the opening statement. So we're going to get through this video looking at and asking the question, is Lil Durk snitching on Vonnie? Is it even important if he's snitching on him at this point? Because they all are snitching on each other, it looks like. So, I mean, some of them have already taken a deal for their part in the crime. So I don't know that it matters, but this is a question that many people are asking now, knowing that Lil Durk's defense is that Vonnie orchestrated this. I had nothing to do with it.
Confirming that the murder of Pab was indeed revenge for the killing of King Von. Not only that, but this music-turned-murder enterprise had been incredibly sloppy in their actions, as the indictment would reveal an alleged text exchange where Durk would reportedly advise his shooters not to book no flights under no names involved with him. A tragic exchange suggesting that he was actively trying to cover his tracks and that his shooters had been incredibly cheap and reckless. And soon, Durk's situation would surpass Diddy's as the most trending topic in the rap media. Not only...
Okay, so let me stop it right there, because so I already know, based on some of the things that I was hearing during the pretrial phase of this case, that message is going to try. The prosecution is going to use it one way, but the defense is going to attempt to use it another way. So basically, the defense is going to make it look like that message meant, listen, like, I'm not a part of this. I'm not when he says don't book no flights and no name like connected to me, the defense is going to make it look like that was Durk saying, no, I'm not part of this. I don't do this. I don't got nothing to do with this. That's how the defense is going to present it. But we see how the prosecution is presenting it. They're presenting it like, okay, y'all know not to use any names that's connected to me because I can't have nothing come back to me. So make sure whatever names you use don't have any affiliation to me. So this piece of evidence is being used on both sides of the aisle in a different way.
But those close to him would begin to find themselves under the magnifying glass too. In the aftermath of Durk's arrest, eyebrows began to raise about his ability to potentially influence the justice system and politics, with questions being asked about whether the mayor of Chicago would be giving back a $150K donation. But most importantly, all eyes would be on those in the indictment, both named and unnamed, as people would begin to uncover the dark, violent backstories of the perpetrators, as well as intensely speculating on exactly who might have been the informant and who might have been the connection in California who told Durk and his demons to fly out and kill Quando. The first of the OTF crew in this indictment who seems to have been heavily involved in planning and executing Quando Rondo's hit was Tavon London Grant, aka OTF Vonnie. OTF Vonnie is a key figure in OTF's inner circle for years, with his loyalty and presence around Lil Durk and King Von being well documented. Vonnie is also King Von's cousin and played a significant role in Lil Durk's operations as his business manager. Back in July 2019, Vonnie would be spotted with Durk and Von at the iconic Icebox jewelry store.
Can I get an OTF chain, man?
The way things are looking this week,
yeah.
Woo! Not gonna happen.
A1, right? A1, right? A1, right?
And by early 2020, he would once again be seen accompanying King Von as Von worked on designing and purchasing custom O-block chains that many believe were actually given out as trophies to celebrate the successful murder plot on FBG Duck.
Slimmer overall or just one?
Yeah, right there.
All right, so y'all hear that? They said that these chains were designed specifically like as a trophy for what happened with FBG Duck. Another case, another situation, right? And so this is why you see why the judge has created this strict criteria and rubric to say, listen, you all can discuss the gang affiliation in order to connect to how these individuals knew each other in order to move forward with this crime. But don't step outside of those bounds. And the reason why the judge is giving that strict criteria is because there is another case where this information can be utilized and can be bought out, right? But right now the judge is saying, not in this one. But you heard that they go connection to a whole nother situation.
And I like you see how the leaves letters, I like them kind of like
graffiti style.
Just like, check this out. As I see. Just like the O, like a, oh no, like longer instead of wider. Like, see, that's kind of wide.
I appreciate you guys. Once again, thank you so much.
Definitely.
Hey, thank you, bro.
All right,
definitely.
Yeah, Scally, big dog.
I don't dig it though.
Yeah.
So that's the only way I want to do it.
Wrist big. Yeah, a little wrist.
Yeah.
Me, it looked like a big watch.
Since you're not picking these up today, I'm gonna send you a sample image of all of them.
All right, I'm texting to you anyway. I'm texting everything I write. So.
Well, I can text this back to you.
Yeah.
Following King Von's death in late 2020, Vonnie's proximity to Lil Durk only grew, and by September 2021, he was back at Icebox, this time with Durk acting as a negotiator during a major jewelry purchase. In footage from the store, Vonnie can be seen haggling prices on Durk's behalf and carrying a massive stack of cash for the transactions.
3 1/4 and 2 1/4. 2.75. 2 3/4. 3 1/4, 2 3/4. That's about 15% difference. How much would it be? That's what he had before. It's the old one is exactly the same size. It's just so how big is it? 4.5.
You can say 2.
This green. He didn't like this.
And you guys, you see, in this case, we see all of these things with the jewelry and the chain being trophies, being things that are considered a prize to the particular organization that they are a part of. We see the same thing in the Keefe D trial be mentioned about these death row chains. You know, and what ended up happening, and when somebody snatched the chain, what they meant, and who, and did somebody actually send them to go and seek this out? So this is just this is part of the culture, right? This is all part of the culture, and maybe things that people in other cultures might not even really understand like that. I mean, you can connect it; it can be connected certain ways. Because like I said, people outside of the culture, when they are committing serial crimes, they are doing things similar the same way, but you just have to connect it in a way that those people can culturally understand. But this is something that is culturally consistent, is that jewelry, taking the jewelry. We see it in Pooh Shiesty too. The alleged taking of Gucci Mane's jewelry and then going on social media and showing that, oh, I took his jewelry. This is a cultural thing that is done when you are trying to denigrate someone, right? When you are trying to strip someone of their street credibility. You take some of their most prized possessions, you take the things that are most valuable to their organization, and you flaunt them, or you create some type of relic that commemorates the crime that you committed against those individuals. Remember when we looked in the YSL trial, it was the vandalizing of the tombstone, a nut, right? You see like these things that are being done by these organizations in order to say and mark their territory, right? To mark their crime, to say we did this. This was us.
Appreciate it.
Chief.
Man, it's my birthday, man.
You ain't even know. You ain't even know I had it.
No, that's how it goes. That's how yeah, man, birthday behavior, man. We ain't around this.
It's like you were until the Tom Hagen. Watch. The Godfather, Tom Hagen.
This moment highlighted not only his close relationship with Durk, but also the level of trust that Durk was placing in him, with Vonnie seemingly handling significant amounts of money and playing a critical role behind the scenes for OTF. Another OTF member implicated in the paperwork is DeAndre Wilson, aka OTF Didi, or D-Ski, aka Big Threat. Didi had been involved in multiple violent altercations over the years, with him even managing to beat a murder case in 2023 in regards to a 2014 murder that took place in Chicago. This wasn't just any murder, but the alleged get-back for the murder of Tay-Ski, whom Tay-Town is named after. Something.
Okay, so remember, they are saying, according to what we were reading from the tweets, the OTF Didi is going to be I think they said that he is going to be the one that is going to be testifying on the behalf of the defense. He's not testifying for the prosecution. He's going to be testifying on behalf of the defense. And part of his defense is that he, I guess, said that he was resistant, or that he was not going to be a part of whatever arrangement they had going on, but that this is how he knew about the arrangement that Vonnie had set up to have happen, because he said that he wasn't going to be a part of it, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to testify on the behalf of the defense, and will that work out? Will it help Durk, or is that putting him in more jeopardy, giving the prosecutors the opportunity to question him and cross-examine him? Is it putting Durk in some type of jeopardy, especially based off of the allegation that the prosecution is saying that they had, where multiple attempts were made on Quando Rondo's life? So that'd be interesting to see how this happens.
Which would have made Dee Dee a very respected member within K-Town. Other co-conspirators include Keith Jones, aka Flakka. According to unverified sources, Flakka himself beat a murder case back in 2011 after allegedly being acquitted for the murder of Big Baby from Hula Gang, an almighty P-Stone set based in Sunnyside or Magnolia that has a long-standing rivalry with the Gangster Disciples in Rogers Park in Uptown. The gang is named in honor of fallen member High C, preserving his legacy within its ranks. Then there's David Brian Lindsay, aka Brown Eyes, who's also named as a co-conspirator on the indictment, and Asa Houston, aka OTF Boogie. However, along with Durk, there still remains two significant question marks, as two unnamed co-conspirators had their identities with.
And remember last night, we read that in the indictment. We read that there are several known and unknown co-conspirators, but we saw a whole bunch of mention of conspirators 2 and 5. Co-conspirators 2 and 5. But at times it said in other known and unknown co-conspirators. Those numbers were not used in abundance in the indictment, but we see consistently throughout the indictment that co-conspirator 2 and 5 are not named. We don't know who they are yet, but they were very prominent in the indictment.
Withheld by the feds on the indictment, leading many to believe that these individuals have perhaps turned informant. There's been rampant speculation on the potential identity of co-conspirator number 4, particularly LA rapper and rising podcast and content star Brick Baby, mainly due to him being one of the first people that had said that Durk slid for Von.
And we know Brick Baby from the other stuff going on with Big U and all of that. If I'm not mistaken, Brick Baby got something going on with the Big U situation thing too.
Off of Vaughn, right? Yeah. They say you can't say that no more. You can't say that no more.
Oh, because of FVG Cash?
Nah, because Lil Pop.
Now, Brick has made numerous references to the crime in music, but in my honest opinion, there's really been no solid evidence provided to prove that he is actually the person that lined up Quando Rondo, just rampant speculation. In fact, Brick has talked about this case with so much openness and confidence, I personally believe that he was simply using the false allegations as fuel to boost his career, and it seemed to work. In fact, there's actually an alternative theory floating around the internet that the actual person who set up the murder is a lesser-known LA gang member by the name of TS from a set called Gutter Ave, with Reddit posts claiming that him and his friend had a personal vendetta against Quando after Quando refused to do a song with them. However, once again, at this stage, this is all speculation, and it's highly possible that this person's identity may never be revealed to the public. It could be somebody that we have absolutely no idea about. The other person who people have speculated may have been...
So just to take you guys over across the street to our other case that we are following with Keefe D, this is the same thing I was saying when there is a mention that there is a CRI in this case that I think Detective Becker, if I'm not mistaken, mentioned that they had a CRI. And so Corey, we know Corey is identified to testify, right? So I wouldn't believe that Corey was the CRI. And there are some other hints about the CRI in the Keefe D case that make me believe it's not Corey, that this is someone else, because there is a difference when it is a confidential, reliable informant. And that is what is suggested in the Keefe D case. And so right here, they're letting you know we may find out who these people are. We may never find out who these people are. We just have to wait and see. I'm wondering the same thing in the Keefe D case. Will we find out who that CRI was, or is that CRI deceased like so many other people that were involved in this situation? Or will this CRI testify? Will they come in and testify willingly? Will they be coming and testify and be resistant like some of the other witnesses that we've seen get on the stand. How will that be handled? Where is this CRI in the Keefe case? So I thought that was interesting to stop right there in the Durk case, knowing that we have these confidential informants that we may find out who they are, but we may not find out in the process of this trial.
Informing the authorities is co-conspirator number 2, who's actually one of the shooters. There's been intense speculation on social media that this person is in fact a beloved member of Durk's crew by the name of OTF Jam, someone who Durk frequently rapped about, saying that Jam...
And we do think it's OTF Jam because according to what was stated in court, OTF Jam spoke with law enforcement over 30 times. So according to what is being stated coming out of court, Vonnie spoke with law enforcement twice. But OTF Jam, they say, spoke with law enforcement over 30 times. So that's why it's speculated. It's many times as he is mentioned, as the confidential informant is mentioned, co-conspirator is mentioned, number 2 is mentioned throughout the indictment. This is what is making people believe that it is OTF Jam.
Jam vets killers for his crew, along with one rather suspicious line where Durk points out that Jam is always very serious when they talk on the phone. Well, real name Casey Hester, OTF Jam was once considered a rising star within Durk's Only the Family label. In 2010, Jam was convicted of a shooting, being sentenced to a minimum of 12 years in prison for attempted murder, and he would complete his jail term in February 2022. Lil Durk would post a picture of the stack that he had for OTF Jam as soon as he got out, with some Reddit Sherlocks counting and deducing it was over $250,000. In an interview in May 2023, Jam himself would verify that Lil Durk had taken care of him, giving him over $50,000 when he got released.
Because he's super solid, but like a lot of, like, you know what I'm saying? He said Jam, get out that jam and give him 50. He ain't got to ask again, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? He ain't got to ask, bro. He said he gave you 50, bro. You know what I'm saying? Fact.
More than that. More than that.
But shit, can you tell us how much he gave you, or you don't want to even?
No, we ain't gotta get into all that. But bro made sure he made a way for me to be straight. Like he's saying, gotta ask him, you know, like free a cop. He's able to take care of anything I have to take care of. Period. Like, it's still up.
This is why people were surprised that when a year later, he would become a focal point in reports suggesting that he may have cooperated with the authorities against Lil Durk. Jam even had his very own track on the highly incriminating OTF mixtape, Loyal Bros 2, released just months after the murder of Pab, a song ironically called Federal Freestyle, with lyrics where Jam rapped solo, admonishing others for snitching and asking suspicious questions. After Durk's indictment suggested a member of OTF had been cooperating with the feds by wearing a wire for the span of 2 years, Jam's snitching allegations would surface on various media platforms, and adding to the speculation, a photo would be posted on social media appearing to depict Jam dining on fast food whilst reportedly cooperating with the feds in the case. This photo, shared by DJ Academics, shows Jam glancing at a security camera while eating.
They always gonna make sure they get that meal, y'all. They go in there telling they gonna make sure they get a meal every single goddamn time. And when they show you them tapes back of them sitting there telling you, they show you them eating too. When they sit that damn discovery out and they sit that discovery for your lawyer to be able to see all of what they do, they show them sitting in there eating that damn food, whatever the meal is. They show them eating it.
Prompting captions like "Bro really snitched on Durk for McDonald's." However, it would later turn out that this image was a AI-generated fake, but that didn't stop the speculation. The next day, on October the 28th, 2024, internet personality Wack100 would support the reports that OTF Jam had indeed cooperated, explaining the details in a Vlad TV interview. Wack would go on to explain that although Jam...
Here he go again.
Jam served his whole 12-year sentence, he would get a gun charge that resulted in him wearing a wire for 2 years.
There's a guy named OTF Jam.
That was wired.
Very ironic name.
Jam
now he put everyone in the jam.
Did 12 years.
12
got
years.
out, interviewed, said he kept it real, brought him cars, gave him 50,000.
Right.
This. Made mention that ain't no smut on his name. He ain't never been a rat. Caught a gun case, but eventually he flipped.
Yep.
He got put in the jam, and now he's...
Right. OTF Jam did 12 years for attempted murder back, I guess around 2010. He got out in 2022. right around the same time of the Quando situation. And he allegedly had been wearing a wire for the last 2 years.
From 22 to 24.
Yeah.
So he immediately got caught up?
Yes.
Then, on October the 30th, footage would circulate on the internet, allegedly showing an uncomfortable-looking OTF Jam, footage which people believed showed him wearing a wire near Lil Durk. The viral footage would show a nervous Jam looking anxious around Durk, with many alleging that Jam was looking very uncomfortable, triggering suspicions that at this point he was recording. But there's no proof of that.
Check on your man, I heard you got here to this area. Hey. I ain't gonna lie, man. Hey, when I was growing up, I never happened to damn architect. Metro! You slip me over there, roll over, arm mark. My dad, he called me with a cast. So I'm thinking my shit up. I'm like, man, this thing boom, man. He laughed. He said, I ain't do that. Hey, slow. Vacation. Trying to tell him.
Additionally, unverified claims would surface alleging that Durk had actually ordered a hit on a woman speculated to be close to OTF Jam after suspecting Jam of being an informant. According to an interview between academics and Chicago reporter Trench's News, the mother of Jam's child actually contacted Durk after Jam was arrested, and Durk refused to pay his bond. An apparent threat was then made to Durk.
It bonded out then. They don't know nothing about no white, but he did make a threat to a Durk, like, if you want to come in, you know what I'm talking about, how you gonna play somebody who be putting in work and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And they took it as a threat, and that he told us. I don't know how he got mixed in with the Quando Rondo, but yeah, they say
I've been holding you down because I heard you say something about like his baby mama called Durk for a lawyer, and Durk may have like brushed it off.
Okay, now doesn't this sound like something similar? All of what was going on with Lil Woody and YSL and Thug. When Lil Woody got caught up, he was in that jail, that Wright Street prison, and he needed that attorney. And we heard all those phone calls on there with the baby mama and all of that. It's Jesus Christ. These are all like deja vu moments. It's always the same things.
And they're like, yo, you're not supposed to brush off my call when I need something. Like, I'm the guy who does the dirt for you.
that's facts. Like, you got some real demons out there, like, you finna find me out, no matter what I did. Or you gonna come in with me. Sometimes you gotta make them threats and jump off their couch and go snap down money.
According to news reports, on July the 19th, 2024, Octavia Redmond, a 48-year-old postal worker, had been brutally gunned down in broad daylight whilst delivering mail in Chicago's West Pullman neighborhood. A 15-year-old kid ran up to her in front of a house, shooting her 26 times, execution style.
You
She
heard
would
that?
die in the hospital.
A 15-year-old kid. A 15-year-old kid.
This morning, Chicago police have released surveillance video of a person of interest in the deadly shooting of a postal worker.
The shooting happened last month in the West Pullman neighborhood. Mugo Odigwe is live in the newsroom this morning with a look at that new video. So, Mugo, what does it show?
Well, first off, we know the U.S. Postal Inspection Service is already offering a $250,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction in this case. And now, Chicago police are hoping the new video gets them closer to the killer. So here's that video on your screen. Part of it shows a man getting to a white Dodge Durango near 70th and Campbell. This is right before the shooting. Then at some point, the same video shows a man getting out of that Durango near 121st and Harvard. He runs across the street and out of view. Then he runs back to the car before it drives off. Police say on that day, Friday, July 19th, around 11:40 in the morning, 48-year-old postal worker Octavia Redmond was in front of a home near 121st in Harvard when a man walked up to her and shot her. She died at the hospital. The Dodge Durango used in the shooting was later found abandoned and torched in the middle of a field on South Holland Avenue. Now, anyone with information on this shooting is asked to call Area 2 detectives, or you can leave anonymous tips at cpdtip.com.
A $250,000 reward would be offered for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of the perpetrator, with an anonymous tip leading up to the arrest of the juvenile killer in Iowa.
Breaking news at this hour, a 15-year-old boy is charged with shooting and killing an on-duty U.S. Postal Service worker. He's accused of murdering 48-year-old Octavia Redmond on 121st and Harvard back in July. Chicago police officers and the U.S. Marshals, Great Lakes Regional Fugitive Task Force.
They found this boy in Iowa. When they went to go get this 15-year-old boy was all the way in Iowa when they found him to arrest him.
Took him into custody yesterday in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The teen was extradited to Chicago and is set to appear in juvenile court sometime this morning. Detectives received an anonymous tip that helped identify the suspect.
This murder had been circulated with many headlines that suggested that this was OTF Jam's baby mother. However, a user on X would debunk these claims, alleging that Redmond had absolutely no connection or affiliation to OTF. Official reports and reputable news outlets have not since established any link between Redmond and OTF Jam, hence there's no credible evidence to support the assertion that they had any personal or familial ties. Some users, however, have still ran with this speculation, suggesting that the killing was somehow a targeted attack, with the shooter intentionally approaching her and mistaking her identity as the intended target, with some going even as far as to suggest that this was another hit sent from Durk that ended up killing an innocent bystander. I personally don't buy it. Now, it's important to note that the criminal complaint and indictment documents do not explicitly name Jam as an informant.
Why did he include that in this? Either way, I am astonished that they found that little boy all the way in Iowa after doing that crime. Like, I am astonished about that. Oops.
Informant, though they do reference an unnamed individuals and key witnesses by their initials. This has even led to subreddits questioning whether or not it's really Jam who got Durk in the jam. And while I personally believe it's likely that Jam could be the informant, at this stage there's still no proven paperwork to confirm this. And there's really no way of knowing for sure until this goes to trial. In December 2024, OTF Jam would finally break his silence with a scathing social media post denying being the snitch in the case and accusing other OTF members of disloyalty and sloppy behavior, attracting the attention of law enforcement rather than him. Currently, Durk, Vonnie, Didi, and Boogie are held at the Metropolitan Detention Center, or MDC, Los Angeles, awaiting trial. And since his arrest, the only thing we've heard from Durk is a phone call from jail that would suggest that despite his celebrity status, he turned down protective custody and is now navigating life behind bars in general population.
I said, I know you're rich, but if you need anything, you know I got you. I appreciate it. You know, that count here. Yeah, hell yeah. I know how that shit be, but it don't matter, bro. We ain't never moved our money except for that first time. Once it was that, it was that. Once it was like then, it was everything was his. Yeah. You know, I feel that piece name. I came up here like, yeah, where you from? What you got going? I been to it, yeah. Man, what? The PC. Hey. Hey, I respect your mom forever. The PC. But they be like, man, you know you, man, send me upstairs. Whatever it is, I got to adapt to it. Nah, for sure. Can't go no more. You come out, I got all right.
While we still don't know how Durk's trial is set to unfold, if the fate of the killers of FBG Duck is anything to go by, things aren't looking good for OTF. Durk's fall may well go down as one of the most dramatic falls in hip-hop history. In 2024, Lil Durk was at the peak of his career, having just gotten a Grammy Award and being listed as a top 10 rapper by various music publications. He truly built himself a legacy like no other in the rap game, arguably the most successful drill rapper of all time, and certainly the voice of his generation of gangster rap. Fans and the Reddit communities who had closely followed the rise and evolution of the Chicago drill movement compared Durk's arrest to a dramatic season finale of this more than a decade-long saga in the drill scene, with countless deaths claiming major figures and prison sentences taking others. Only a select few, like Chief Keef, G Herbo, and Lil Bibby, had managed to escape that early drill era with their lives and freedom. Durk was for years the poster child for what making it out of the streets and becoming a mainstream pop sensation really looked like, but it would seem the pull of the past was just too much for him. Durk's commitment to the street code and getting revenge for his fallen friends and family may have ultimately cost him everything he worked so hard to build, and now, as he sits in jail awaiting trial, he's left to confront the harsh reality of the many lessons he ignored, lessons that he could have learned from, the mistakes and tragedies of those closest to him. Durk's story should serve as a cautionary tale, a stark example of what not to be, especially for anyone fortunate enough to rise above the trenches. With dozens of people depending on him, including his own family, Durk had every reason to steer clear of the path he chose. He should have taken to heart the lesson etched into his own past with the incarceration of his father, but now his children will grow up without him, all for a revenge that didn't even need to happen. The fact is,
okay, so I'm gonna stop that right there. You can go over to Trap Lore Clips in order to finish up this one. This one is called Is Little Durk Snitching on Vonnie? But I just wanted to go over that a little bit just so you guys could see that. So before I get off of here, I want to read this article to you guys that's in mensjournal.com. And it talks about the opening statements and how the lyrics were used in opening statements. Lyrics that Little Durk made right after the death of Lil Pat, okay? The murder for hire attempt. And I want to read this because over here on my channel, I always talk about how these rap lyrics are like manifestos. And a lot of times I know, people create so many defenses for freedom of expression, free speech, free artistic expression. But if we are being honest and real as a community, we know that these lyrics are connected to real crimes. There are times when the lyrics are not they are metaphorical, and we know they're not real, but we can identify when the lyrics are connected to a specific crime. They make sure that it is blatant for us to be able to identify that, but they hide under the free artistic expression and freedom of speech in order to hide that. They want to be flamboyant. They want credit, right, for these crimes, but they don't want to be caught for these crimes. But they flirt with law enforcement, they flirt with the public, and they flirt with their rival in these rap lyrics. And then when it comes time and it comes crunch time, they deny what they really mean, okay? And so I want to read this article. It was written by Kenneth Brown, published on today. And it says, Little Durk trial opens with his own lyrics as Exhibit A. Federal prosecutors are using Little Durk's own lyrics as evidence in his murder for hire trial. Here's what the songs say and what's at stake if the jury agrees. Okay. So it says, Lil Durk made it out. The Grammy Award winning rapper grew up in Inglewood on Chicago's South Side, where he has spoken about growing up around shooting, violence, and little money. He survived Chicago's drill turbulent rise and built the kind of career that represents the American dream: fame, financial security, and life-changing success. Now that dream could become an American nightmare. Opening statements are scheduled Monday in the federal trial of Durk, Devontae Banks, before U.S. District Judge Michael W. Fitzgerald in Los Angeles. Durk has pleaded not guilty. If convicted on all counts, prosecutors say he faces mandatory life in prison. What is Little Durk charged with? Durk is facing several federal counts tied to an alleged murder for hire plot, including conspiracy to commit murder for hire, resulting in death, stalking charges, murder in aid of racketeering, and firearms allegations. Federal prosecutors allege Durk financed and orchestrated an attack targeting rapper Quando Rondo in retaliation for the November 2020 killing of Durk's close friend and OTF artist King Von. According to the United States Attorney's Office, alleged OTF members and associates tracked Rondo in Los Angeles before opening fire on his vehicle on August 19, 2022. Rondo survived, but his cousin, Sylvia Lil Pad Robinson, was killed. Prosecutors allege travel and other expenses connected to the attack were funded through Durk and OTF-related finances. Those are allegations. Durk maintains his innocence, and prosecutors must prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Little Durk's own lyrics are now evidence. This may become the trial's most fascinating and controversial battle. Millions of fans have listened to Durk use his voice to document street life, loss, success, and survival. Now that same voice could help determine his fate. Judge Fitzgerald has permitted prosecutors to introduce portions of Who Wants Smoke, Aha, and Piss Me Off, including the Piss Me Off music video. Prosecutors argue the material helps establish Durk's alleged motive and willingness to retaliate following Von's death. Durk's defense argues that prosecutors are assigning literal criminal meaning to artistic expression. For rappers, the familiar warning increasingly sounds different. What you rap can and sometimes will be used against you in the court of law. But there are limits. Under Federal Rule of Evidence 401 and 403, evidence must be relevant, and a judge can exclude it when its value is substantially outweighed by the risk of unfair prejudice or misleading the jury. Fitzgerald has already excluded some lyrics prosecutors wanted to use, including lines from Hanging with Wolves tied to a flight risk argument. That distinction is critical. The government cannot simply argue that Durk raps about violence, therefore he committed a violent crime. Prosecutors must connect the material to something relevant in this specific case. The question is, what can we expect from Little Durk's trial? Expect two sharply different versions of the same evidence. Prosecutors are expected to connect financial records, travel communications, witness, and music into all alleged retaliation plots. The defense will attempt to break those connections apart, challenge the government's witnesses, and argue that creative expression is not a confession. The jury selection process showed how central rap music may become. Potential jurors were questioned about whether the genre and its violent imagery could affect their ability to judge Durk fairly. A 12-person jury and a 4 alternate were ultimately seated Friday. 1 year after All My Life with J. Cole earned him his first Grammy-winning Best Melodic Rap Performance, Durk spoke proudly to XXL about being a father of 7, describing his children individually. Durk shared the photo in June of 2024, months before his arrest, captioning it family-oriented. From Inglewood to a Grammy stage was an extraordinary climb. Now, a federal judge will decide whether Little Durk walks out of court able to continue that story, or whether the American dream he achieved ends with the American nightmare of spending the rest of his life behind bars. And that is the end of the live for tonight, you guys. I will be back tomorrow, and we will either go over. I'm anticipating that tomorrow that I will be giving Durk updates, because I will have been able to refine how I'm accessing this information on Twitter to share with you guys. And because it's such the beginning stages of the trial, and I think that there will be some fiery witnesses tomorrow, I think that we will end up doing Durk updates, but we will see as the day progresses which way we go. Today in the Keefe D trial, it was more of the documentarian giving more testimony. There was a little rift between him and the defense attorney, Sanif, about some of the details of how this audio recording was acquired. And it did not look good, in my opinion, for Sanif. I think that he overextended himself with the documentarian. I think that Sanif is ultimately hasn't been practicing criminal law, and it shows. Okay, he is doing like a lot of ambulance chasing type, but according to him, has a very vibrant law practice, but he has not been over the last few years. I think he said over 10 years. He hasn't really tried a criminal case. And I think that it is showing in his presentation. So I like his style, but I don't know what this means for Keefe D. Like, all of this case with Keefe D, it really hinges on the fact that you have a juror who already believes some of the theories, conspiracies that have been placed out here on social media. And I believe that juror will have a heavy influence once they get into the deliberation room. And I think we will see a situation where Keefe D will possibly get off. If not, I think that he will have a great chance on appeal. Do I believe he committed the crime? Absolutely. Okay. According to what I'm looking at with the evidence, especially, it seems like every day that when something happens with the evidence or these recordings that Keith PD has, it solidifies for me even more that he did it, right? And when I'm listening to his first interview to do the BET documentary, and then I'm listening to the actual interview, Keith D can no longer say that they made a script for him. We continuously heard these people emphasize to him, Keith D, you gotta use full sentences. Keith D, you can't be chewing that candy like that on camera, because they had to teach him etiquette. And to Keith D, etiquette might mean that they were giving him a script. But if you listen to that first recording, and this is my opinion, if you listen to that first recording when he's talking to them freestyling the day he came in there with the shorts on, and then he's talking about how he has to confirm these things with his attorney before he talks about them, because he can't make them boys look too bad over there and all of these other things. But he gives them a lot of information in that thing, and then he connects it back to his book, and then he does something in that interview that confirms something that I said of what he did in the Vlad interview. So when people in the Vlad interview were trying to make it seem like, oh, he couldn't even remember this was in the book, or he even couldn't even remember that was in the book, it wasn't that he didn't remember. That was a marketing strategy. And you hear him again when he's sitting down with doing this interview for the BET documentary. He's saying to them again, man, y'all asking me all the stuff in my book. I'm not going to be able to sell my book. So it's clear that when he's sitting down for these interviews, the first thing in his mind is sale of the book. And so he's not going to tell certain details, or he's going to act like to the interviewer like he doesn't know what they're talking about, because he's going to use that as an opportunity to market the book, a book that he claimed that he didn't read. But when this person who was interviewing him was asking him questions about things that were in the book, he's able to tell him that's in my book. So, I mean, there are two different ways of me looking at this case. And one way is, will Keith D be convicted? I'm not convinced that he's going to be convicted, especially after looking at that juror and the questions that have been coming down from the jury. But do I believe that Keith D was a part of this murder? Yes, absolutely. According to his own words, according to his own admissions, and according to him corroborating other people who are going to come and say that he did it. That he was in the car, that he was in the vicinity, that he was there, that he was part of the plot. Now, what I'm starting to question, and you all know that I was like initially like more on a road of, okay, did Diddy really have something to do with this? And what does it take for Diddy to have something to do with this? I am starting to question whether Diddy really played an explicit role. And I was back and forth with it, when we were reading the book. I was like, Keith D hasn't told us anything explicit that Diddy has said that made him think that going out and doing this crime was doing it on his behalf, right? And so then when I started to see certain other things unfold, I'm thinking again, like, okay, well, maybe if this happened and this happened, then maybe it could be possible that Diddy had some involvement. I'm starting to think that the parts of this that's the lie is the Diddy involvement stuff. When I am listening to Keith D try to discuss Diddy's involvement, I'm starting to notice that it sounds really choppy. And I'm starting to think that those are the parts that sound like that it might be a lie, that stuff might be what's not true. And I'm not saying that Diddy, it's not true that Diddy didn't say that he would like for them to not be here anymore, but that the events that took place that night, that Diddy did not set those in motion. I'm starting to think that that's not the case, and that that's the part that's the lie. And just like I mean, I know a lot of people got their own opinions about everything, but just like he just threw Reggie Wright's name out there about being in control of the drugs on the north side at the Suge got locked up, and then I'm starting to think he did the same thing with Diddy too, like just pulling all types of people into the crime because he don't know if maybe they gave something up on him, if they told something about him, if it was a way for him to try to extort some money out of us from somewhere, or for him to get the heat off of him, or I don't know what that is all about, but I'm starting to think it's something wrong with that allegation against P. Diddy and involving him so in the way that he did into this crime. Like I don't know if Zip gave him no weapon. I don't know if I don't know none of that no more. That's the part that I think might be made up. I'm gonna tell you, and I'm almost to that. When every time he gets to those things, that's where he is sounding choppy. I don't know. I know a lot of people, they feel like because of all of the police activity, the police involvement, the things they feel the police did to try to cover this and do that. And then you got to remember, you're relying on the testimony of a person or on the statements of a person who you already think lied about him killing Tupac. Well, why don't you think he's lying about the other stuff he's saying too? But it seems like that each time he consistently is telling the story about what happened, he denied it, which is normal to do at one point because you don't want to be caught. But it seems like when we continue to hear him tell the story about the Tupac shooting, that it is told with some level of consistency. When it gets to all of this information about Diddy and Zip and all of that, that's when this information like falls apart, and Keefe D is so choppy on it. And he's either doing that because that part is a lie, or he's trying not to give too much because he's concerned about what risk that would have for him. I don't know, but something is wrong with the way Keefe D is talking about this Diddy stuff, and it's making me rethink. Nigga, okay, we know Diddy said he probably wanted them dead. We don't put that past him. But did he send you to do this that night or not? Or did you just because you heard him say that thing, oh, I'm gonna go do this and now I'm gonna get paid? Like, we stop playing around. And it seemed like every time he gets to talking to one of these interviewers or whatever about that, he is playing around with that part. It's either he's playing around with it because that whole thing is a lie, or he's playing around with it because it's some truth to it and he's trying to put some sugar on it so that they cannot move forward in some type of prosecution against Diddy. He's giving a little bit, but not too much for there to be any criminal liability, any real criminal liability. It's one of the two. I don't know which one it is, but I'm a little bit leaning back towards the nigga. Okay, Diddy said he liked them gone. Y'all heard him say it, but he did not tell you go do all that shit that night. Y'all did that because of the altercation that occurred, and then you thought, oh well, now we did it, and so now didn't you say you was willing to pay the person? Oh, okay, well then we ready to get our money. We ready to collect our money. And I also think that that's why more aggressive means weren't taken to try to collect that money, because they knew that they did not have no solid agreement for no money to be paid to them on that situation. I don't know. Something just don't sound right, but that's just my opinion. As the days go on, I think I get more solid on the fact that Keefe D, Orlando, and the other two individuals in the vehicle, that they were the ones there. They did commit the shoot. They did commit the murder. But I don't know how I feel about this Diddy involvement. I don't. And y'all already know I will call Diddy. I would think he did something now. I ain't saying he's above it. I am not saying he's not above doing it. I just don't know if he was really involved based on these statements that Keefe D keep making when he's asked about this. I don't. So listen, you guys, thank y'all for coming in tonight, talking to me about these things. We will gather again tomorrow. I don't know exactly what time, but sometime tomorrow. And I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great night. Peace.